So there was a poll, and it was commissioned by the Independent. I think it was by BMG Research, and it had Reform 15 points ahead of Labour. Not just ahead of Labour, not just a bit, 15 points. I mean, these kind of leads that Labour was enjoying over the Tories in the run-up to election, often bigger. But so Reform were on 35%, Labour on 20%, and the Tories were on 17%. I mean, we'll deal with the Reform bit in a minute, but that's as close as the Tories and Labour have been for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, you said it was a shock poll, but every poll, as you say, is a shock poll. A real shock poll would be now that says that Reform isn't doing that well.
And the two-party system is intact.
It's intact, exactly. That would be the shock. I mean, what I would preface all of this by saying, was it Harold Wilson who said a week is a long time in politics? Well, 5 years is a hell of a long time. I mean, when's the general election going to be? 2029?
Yes, yeah.
We are a long, long way off. So I would really caveat absolutely everything with that. On the other hand, it's interesting what's happening now because you're seeing a lot of sort of Labour supporters saying, well, we're done with this first past the post system because what it could mean, I saw in The Guardian today that someone's writing saying, we need to get rid of that. We need to go for proportional representation, which is really interesting now that the first past the post system is benefiting Reform because it means that if they get 30% of the popular vote, they get that he's prime minister, right? It's through. But, they didn't do this when UKIP won, got 4 million votes and got one seat.
I do think that people's attitudes towards the electoral system is the most hilariously expedient argument in politics where people just literally shift to whatever suits them in that. They'll literally shift in real time. Do you remember in the build-up, there was a period before the Labour were able to pull fully ahead of the Tories. And do you remember they were talking about the Progressive Alliance? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
# Progressive Alliance. And the way that Labour just fucking ghosted the Lib Dems as soon as it became clear that they didn't need them. I just had this image of Ed Davey texting Starmer going, "You up, babes? You okay, hon? Have I done something?"
You've hit it. The lack of consistency on principles. Either you're for proportional representation or you're not. Just stick with it. Don't be for it when it benefits your side. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, the SNP were always for it because what did they that year with UKIP? They got 56 seats or something, and they only got 1.5 million votes. Just be consistent, I mean, the first past the post system didn't really benefit Reform in the last general election. They got 4 million.
But there's a tipping point for them when suddenly, it does start to over-award, just like it did with the Labour Party. I mean, it's worth saying that this poll as well, this is pre the Corbyn Sultana Rah-Rah party. So it could get worse for Labour. I think the Tories are sort of we know roughly where they're sitting for now. There's not going to be another party on the right, but Labour, that could split even further. I mean, there's no sign that the Corbyn Sultana deal will be that well organised, but even just for polling purposes, once they become a thing and people are asked that question, they're going to suffer even more.
Well, I mean, I don't think Corbyn's much of a threat really, but I do think though, I mean, I've always been for proportional representation just because I think it's fair, it's obviously fairer. And I do think the more small parties, the better. The more it splits, the better. I'm not all that bothered by the idea of a coalition. Certain countries make coalitions work really well, and it can work really well. You've got this other party as well. You've got Ben Habib's new party, Advance UK, which is going to split the Reform vote even more. Maybe it's having some sort of effects because it's already... The existence of that party already seems to have pressurized Nigel Farage into doing a bit of a U-turn on his mass deportation thing. So the more you get these they can have that's what I mean, is they can have an effect. Even if Advance UK doesn't get anywhere, it's already successfully changed a key Reform policy, right? So that's kind of interesting.
I think it's going to be like TV channels. When there were a long time where there wasn't nearly enough TV channels, and then there was some more, and that was good, and then there was so many more that then it became not good, and no one knew what the fuck.
Exactly.
I think it's going to go like that with political parties, and I was sort of thinking with for Reform as well. You said about a week is a long time in politics. Reform are if this was drinking, Reform have set a rare old pace here. They've come out. They're doing pints. It's like a stag do. They're doing pints at the fucking airport with their breakfast.
Yeah.
But is there a chance they're going to do a tequila just before they get on the plane?
I suppose, though, what Reform are doing, which it looks like a bit of an overnight success, but what they're doing really is they're capitalising on the culmination of resentment that's been building up for over a decade. And we shouldn't forget that they were the Brexit party, and the failure of the ruling class to capitalise on the opportunity of Brexit is one thing. The fact that we forget, because obviously Labour as well have had this massive majority in Parliament, but we forget that it was a really record low turnout when it came to that. And they similarly benefited from first past the post, because they only got roughly 30% of the vote, 34% of the vote. So I think this is all that's happening with reform is it's this culmination of a long time of grievances, and in a way, I don't think I would vote reform. I don't know. I don't think I could at the moment. I don't think I could vote for any of the parties. I would probably do what I usually do, which is to spoil my ballot. But I think at the moment, it would be kind of amazing if the two-party system was broken, however it got broken. I think I'm for that in principle.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about Labour could be the first party in history to be against first past the post and proportional representation.
What do they want then? Like a clapometer or something?
Well, yeah, they're just like, could we just go back to that bit where Liz Truss made a tit of herself in public? That was as good as it got for them. I mean, the thing that Labour and the Tories have both got to stop doing is trying to out-reform. It's such an obvious fool's errand, which gives you no USP. It's like me trying to do more steps on stage than Michael McIntyre. Yeah, I'm not. My stage isn't big enough. I don't have the energy. It's not as funny when I do it. So why do that? It seems like
if you're going to do it, you have to commit, don't you?
You have to commit.
Like Keir Starmer saying that thing about being an island of strangers. And then people saying, "Oh, that's got echoes of Enoch Powell." And then he's saying, "Oh, I didn't mean that. I shouldn't have said it. Sorry, I didn't." No, just commit. If you're gonna go full Enoch Powell, commit to it. Do the whole thing. Do the accent even. Go for it.
Keir Starmer, there'd been moves. There was talk of a revenge reshuffle at the heart of government, which I think is that like a revenge bod, where the cabinet just comes out all ripped to make somebody jealous, which I think in a way is how reshuffles often work.
Aren't they just desperately trying to show that they're doing something?
Well, there's a bit of that. The private secretary went, and then they've moved Darren Jones, who's the chief secretary to the so basically Rachel Reeves number 2. He's moved him. I can hear people getting bored even as I'm talking, because these aren't interesting movements here. What I think was interesting was that he did this post for social media, and I think we're going to hear a little bit of that now.
Summer's definitely over, and this morning we've got all the number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025, in good spirits, confident and with conviction about what we're doing. It needs a more powerful number 10, so we've added to the team with some really important new members. I made a number of other changes, but this is about focus on delivery now, marching forward to the next phase of government.
So, what you heard there was he spoke about his government being in good spirits, confident, with conviction. And what I thought was amazing about that was he didn't sound in good spirits, he didn't sound confident, and he didn't sound like he had any conviction. No. Which begs the question, should he just stop appearing anywhere? He's so fucking bad at this stuff. He can't communicate anything of what he wants to say. Things that he wants to say aren't a message that's going to... Just stop. Maybe just stop.
Well, I think the trouble is he doesn't stand for anything. And the reason why Reform are doing well is because they clearly stand for something. And whether you agree with it or not, it's clear what they stand for. Labour don't. Starmer doesn't. I know he's got this reputation of flip-flopping and always changing his mind, because I don't think he really believes in anything other than... the law and the rule of law and the managerial approach to politics. And that video is so tone deaf. But I wonder whether maybe that's not his fault. Maybe that's someone within the party, some advertiser.
But that's the point, is if your reshuffle has been like the number 10. Another thing that he says in that video is, so he's speaking to the public now, and he says, we have strengthened the operation at number 10. I don't know about you. I was in a Toby Carvery the other day, and everyone's going, if we could just strengthen the admin operation, that is what this country needs. It needs.
Well, also calling it phase 2, that implies there was a phase 1. And what was this phase 1? And what did phase 1 actually achieve? It didn't seem to achieve anything at all. Why are they so bad at this? All you need to do as a politician is to tell us what you're going to do and be specific about it, and to tell us what you stand for and be specific about it. The fact that he can't do that, the fact that every time they put out these stupid videos, they get it so wrong. And by the way, the Tories do as well. Do you remember that the promotional video of Rishi Sunak home alone for Christmas in Downing Street? That was pretty tone deaf.
No, both parties, and this is partly why we're talking about who can stop reform. One of the issues is that for some reason reform have a snappier social media presence. I guess what it has at the heart of it is a person, whatever people think about Farage, that can talk to the public with fluency, and for whatever reason, people see authenticity in there. Now, it might be the kind of performative of authenticity that TikTok and Instagram and stuff respond to, but it's a brand and a vibe that seems to make... It's weird because there's no reason why it does make sense to young people or a surprisingly high percentage of young people, because it's a guy who used to work in the city. He's quite posh. He's old-fashioned. He's quite small C conservative. But I think that they would always respond better to that than someone like Rishi Sunak or Keir Starmer, who appear to want to say nothing of consequence ever.
You've sort of hit on something there. Why is it that Nigel Farage gets away with the naff videos and stuff? Why is it certain politicians do? Like, the more that Donald Trump does a sort of naff meme, it seems kind of weirdly effective. Like, the more naff it is, the better. Almost like going back to the tradition of dank memes. It kind of works for him. It works for Farage. I mean, I don't know if you saw someone made a garage track with Nigel Farage singing, and they did this on AI, and Farage reposted it as well. How does he get away with that? Like, I think if Starmer did that, we'd be like, no, just don't.
If I was Starmer now, this is what I would do. I would lean into the boring. You got to own whatever it is you are, and it's so meager what he has. I would just go, damn right, Mr. Boring. I will boringly do this, and because that is what I am, and that's what we need. You got to lean all the way into boring.
Yeah.
And if I was the Tories, I'd go, in this age where you just got to have a simple branding, we'd go, we're the money ones.
Will it work, though? You remember Ian Duncan Smith tried to do that by becoming the quiet man of politics.
Oh, yeah.
And that was how he branded himself. In the end, he ended up whispering on stage.
I mean, I'm always happy to mention one of my favourite ever moment in politics when he said, "The quiet man is turning up the volume," but he didn't turn up the volume as he said it. It's just one of the most basic level of comms failures. It's like, Ian, just when you said turning up the volume, it might have been an idea to say it a bit louder.
You know what? There is such an open goal here for anyone who's in promotional, for PR. If you just go to any political party, because they're all so bad, if you've got the slightest bit of ability or talent or just common sense, you could do really well. I mean, the gaffes up. Do you remember the video the Labour put out on TikTok in January with the animals, the AI animals marching through town with a British bulldog as a police officer saying, "We're going to make the streets safe." And the soundtrack they chose for that was a Brazilian funk record. The lyrics, when you translated them, were about how it's a good idea to get young girls hooked on drugs so that you can have sex with them. And they deleted it after like an hour when someone pointed out what they put out there. But how do you make that kind of gaff? How I don't even know how it's almost like you have to be doing that deliberately.
It's like, when something goes extinct, sometimes it's not their fault. But it feels like with the two-party system, when the meteor came from the dinosaurs, it's like, in this world, the dinosaurs have clocked exactly where the meteor is going to land. Yeah. And they've gone, everybody, let's go and stand in front of that fucking meteor.
Let's just do everything we can to mess up our own public image.
Swatted in the face by a giant asteroid.
It's amazing.
Starmer, he did say, because there's been all the stuff with flags recently, and Starmer, I think his team were asked by the press about the England flag. Of course they're going to ask a difficult question. And they said that he's got one in his house. This is good to know. He got it from the Euros last summer. He has pride in the flag. He thinks it is important that we have pride in our flag. It represents our history and our heritage. That is why he has an England flag in his flat. Well, he does now, I would venture, at a guess. But that meme, that famous clip with Alan Partridge where he slags off, he slag off cheese or something, and then the commissioner says, "I actually like cheese," and Alan Partridge goes, "Can I surprise you? I actually like cheese." It's a little bit like the political version of that. No, you wouldn't think it. Well, I'm actually a massive patriot. Now, he might be a patriot. The problem is it's just flip. I don't know what this geezer stands for anymore.
I don't know who he is.
I don't know if he knows. Do you know what I mean? I think he started off like, well, if I just say that will head that off at the pass. And if I was Corbyn's friend, but I distanced myself from him, that will help electorally. And he successively made loads of decisions, which individually sort of made a certain amount of sense. But the collective effect of all those decisions is he stands for nothing, and the person that stands for nothing would stand for anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, the level of unpopularity, it hasn't set all kinds of records to go that kind of drop in the polls for a ruling party. I don't think anyone's ever done it quite like this before.
Well, there you go. Then lean into that. Go. I've done something in power that nobody has. My numbers will never be repeated. I mean, it is mad. And I know, look, people say we've gone like really hard at the Labour Party here, but it is. You look at them polling 20% pre-Corbyn party launch. This is dire, and they need, this little phase 2 reset thing. I don't think is going to cut the mustard.